Hi, my name is Mariah Leal, and I'm an author and speaker. I have written a series of children's books called The Adventures of Piper, and they are to educate children on the proper way to raise, train, and socialize a puppy. I've done a few Facebook Lives, but I thought it was time that you got to know a little bit about me as a person, how I got into the animal field, and how I've now taken a turn into being an author and speaker. So stay tuned and you will get a little mini autobiography on who I am and what I'm trying to do. My goal is to help cut down on the number of dog bites involving children, which is quite astounding. More than half the bites do involve children in this country, and also the number of dogs that are relinquished to shelters. And that basically comes from not choosing the right dog that fits your family lifestyle. So let's move on, and I'll tell you a little of how I got into the animal field. Let me tell you a little bit about how I wound up becoming an author and a speaker. I grew up with animals. My first dog, as you can see in the middle, there's me at 6 months old. She was 3 months old. I had no siblings, so we grew up together. And most of the places that I lived in my early childhood, my friends were mostly the animals in the neighborhood, people's dogs, the horses, and I developed a love of animals very at a very young age. You have to excuse my voice, it's the allergies this year are bad. So the other thing I'm sure you'd be interested in is where my experience, knowledge, and expertise came from to write the books and to do the presentations that I do. As I already said, I have all my friends I was growing up were animals. I had a unique childhood in the sense that one of my relatives married a veterinarian. So what I did was took in everything I could from there, anything I was able to watch and learn about. I was like a sponge and soaked it all up. And then, in fact, I had decided at the age of 6 that I wanted to be a veterinarian. But sometimes life throws a little curve into our path, and I wound up working out of high school, and I became a veterinary technician. At that time, you did not need to be licensed. You needed to just to be trained by the veterinarian. And where I worked, I did everything from cleaning kennels all the way up until I was able to assist in surgery, which was probably my favorite part. And I also learned to groom. And I learned from someone who was very old school. We didn't have rounded scissors to do the top knots on the poodles' heads or anything like that. So I learned from a very good source, and I opened my own grooming shop. I also did basic obedience training for my clients, and I trained and showed my own dogs. I had Afghans and Dobermans at that time. Now, what brought me to the point of becoming an author and a speaker? I loved the work that I did. I enjoyed it immensely. Yes, there were things that were difficult to deal with at times, and things I saw that I would rather not have seen, but the rewards were much greater than, thankfully, those things. But what did change my life dramatically was a head-on collision that I was in. I was a passenger. I sustained many injuries. I had to have surgeries. It was constant doctors, MRIs, and whatnot. So while I was going through my healing of, or what I thought could be healed from my injuries from the accident, I decided that I'm not going to sit and vegetate. That's not the type of person that I am. And I was going to do something that was going to keep me positive and going in a positive direction. So I enrolled in an online college and went into their veterinary technician degree program. Once I was in there, I found out they had a newsletter for the degree program, and I applied to be a writer and was accepted and enjoyed doing the writing, and before I knew it, I was the editor. So I now learned a lot about copywriting and all the things, proofreading and all that goes in with producing the newsletter. And then came the day when I had been going through my studies, and we had to do 2 practicums to get our degree. And that meant going for 9 weeks to work for a vet where you were filmed and you were doing the things that you had learned up to that point. And I spoke with my doctors and I said, it's time for me to do practicum. So, and they just looked at me and they said, you know, you are not going to be able to work again. And let alone doing the practicum, it's not going to work for you because of the injuries that I had. And so, of course, I was devastated. And when I heard that news, I did continue with school for a short time, continued with the newsletter until we did our 100th issue. And then I had to leave the school because there was no point. And at that point, the doctors told me they knew how important animals were to me during my lifetime. And they suggested, since my other dog was getting up in age, that I get a puppy to help with the emotional healing. Enter Piper. Piper is a bull mastiff. I got her from Michigan, and she was 3 months old when she arrived by plane to me, and we had an instant bond. And she had, I didn't know it at the time, but she was to inspire me to stay in a field that I loved by taking another path. So what we did was I kept a log on her as she was growing up to, which I did with most of my dogs. Not having children, I had puppy books instead of baby books. And hers was a little more detailed, and I seemed to pay more attention to how she was learning, how we dealt with fears, etc. And she inspired me to write the book series, The Adventures of Piper. The books are told through her eyes. They're written for children, but they make an excellent family read. And they basically tell you what a puppy goes through in its first year of life growing up. So it begins when she came to live with me, and it ends when she has her first birthday. So I also decided that there were things in the books that I wanted to expand upon. So I had created a presentation, slideshow on PowerPoint, and we go to libraries, schools, boys and girls clubs. I do about a 40-minute talk while having the slides going. And then the last 20 minutes, Piper comes in and we demonstrate, or she demonstrates, the basic commands that every dog should know. And we talk about approaching a dog, and we have whatever children want to come up and say hello to her. We talk about it first, and then they get to come up one by one and meet Piper. And Piper just loves it, and she's very intuitive. with the kid. She knows who's a real doggy kid and who may have some reservations, and she acts accordingly. And she's also now my service dog, as she's been very intuitive with me as well. So we had a chance to do BOCES upstate, which was an interesting experience because I got to speak on another level to high school students in the animal science class. And I could go into a few more things with them than I could with the younger children. So it's been very rewarding, and we've gotten great feedback on both the books as well as the presentations. Last year in 2017, I was one of 20 winners of the Pet Age Icon Award, and that is for people who have been in the business for a certain length of time and have contributed to make the pet industry a better industry, and they choose 20 winners from across the country, including Canada. And I sent in my little write-up that we had to do, and I was thrilled when I got the letter saying that I was one of the winners, because being recognized by your peers in the industry was very important to me, because what I'm doing I am very passionate about, and to be recognized by my peers was a wonderful experience. Also last year, Piper and I were given a citation by the mayor of my city, Mayor Spinello, and we went to the town hall meeting, and we were presented with a certificate of special achievement for the work that we are doing educating children about dog safety and how to bring up a puppy and whatnot. So that was another very exciting moment for both Piper and I. So I want to just mention a few points that I talk about in the books, but I can expand more on when I am doing a presentation. And a lot of that has to do with choosing a dog. And really, owning a puppy or a dog begins before you bring that dog or puppy home. You need to research. Too many of us buy on impulse. We see the Westminster show and say, oh, I'd love to have that dog. So there are approximately 6 points that I focus on to talk about when I do the presentation on what to research when you're looking for that dog or puppy for you. The first thing you want to look at is size. Secondly, energy level. The third is, does this dog have a brachycephalic face? And that, of course, is the medical term, but it means the pushed-in muzzle, where they don't have a muzzle like a German Shepherd. And that can create some problems with heat, etc. And that's another important thing that I do go into more in the presentation. The fourth is noise level, excuse me. We want to look at that. The fifth is temperament. Some dogs are more social than others. And the sixth is coat. And what I do recommend is that people go through the AKC site, look at the type of dog they want, even if they're going to a shelter or a breed rescue, and find out what type of dog you're looking for, and will these 6 points on this particular dog fit into your lifestyle. And just here are a few examples of people who did not realize what they were getting into as far as coat goes. These were 3 that I picked out at random from my grooming days, and you can see the top pictures are the before, the bottom are the after, and The middle dog in particular was a poodle terrier mix, and he came in a very badly matted poodle, and he went home looking like a handsome, well-groomed terrier. So there is a lot to be considered. After looking into these 6 points, next you want to develop a list of questions. And there's going to be, whether you go to a shelter, breed rescue, or breeder, many of them are the same, but there are a few that are different. So I do go over those in the presentations as well. I'd like to remind everyone that we don't want to overlook handicapped animals. This particular dog I used to groom, she had a traumatic experience where she had to have her front leg amputated. But she was full of love, she was a good protector, and she was friendly with anyone who was welcome in the house. So just like people with disabilities, and unfortunately I am one now, we don't want to be overlooked or looked at differently. And neither do these dogs. They do have a lot of love to give. The other thing that we do is I go over some myth busters. Growing up, our parents told us a lot of things about raising a puppy or bringing up a puppy that were not exactly true. Probably due to lack of education, and back then we didn't have the leash laws and whatnot that we have now. So what I do is I also dispel myths in my presentation because we don't want to in turn pass these on to our children, etc. An example of one of these is that a crate is being cruel to a dog. If you use a crate, you know, you're punishing them, and it really isn't. Our dogs came from the wolves originally, and wolves always went to dens. They had their babies in the dens, they slept in the dens. That was a place of safety and comfort. So when you have a puppy or a new dog in the house that you've adopted, that's their safe place. That's where they can rest, and especially with growing puppies, when they want to sleep. If you have children, they won't be poking the puppy, trying to play with the puppy. They need their rest and their time to just kind of chill out. And when you cannot keep your eyes on the puppy 100%, of the time that the puppy is out, you are going to get what's in this slide here, which is Piper having quite a ball for herself in my living room. So you can put her in the crate, you can be doing household chores, and they can be there playing with their toys. So it is not a punishment, or it's not being cruel to the animal. So there's quite a few myths that we do dispel during the presentations. What do I hope to achieve through my books and presentations? Well, aside from the fact that I definitely want to cut down on dog bites with children, which the numbers are astounding. More than half of the bites in this country do involve children. The other thing is we want to keep them out of shelters, and if you research and get the right dog for your home and your family lifestyle, you will help to cut down on dogs in shelters. And we also want to point out the positive things that dogs do for us. There are many events that you can do with your dog. If your dog is trained and socialized, which is what we talk about in bringing up a puppy in the books, and this is all done in terms that children can understand, but I have teenagers that have bought the books, adults, and like I say, it's a good family read to sit there and have the kids read the books if you're thinking of getting a puppy. But you can do charity walks for human or canine causes. You can do fun competitions like frisbee, agility. They have dock diving, which a lot of the sporting dogs like labs love. You can also compete in more formal competitions such as conformation or obedience, where you go for titles and championships. And doing these things together as a family with the dog helps to bring the family unit closer together. Having a dog is very beneficial to children. For example, the latchkey kid. The dog is someone to come home to. It helps the child feel more secure. It helps give the child a sense of responsibility, doing, feeding the dog, letting the dog out, and someone is there with them for company and friendship. For the child or children from a single parent home, they as well usually come home to an empty house, and having a dog helps fill that void. And it's a good playmate for them as well, and a good protector as well. So, and for the only child, they are a combination of things. They're like their nanny, they're a best friend, a playmate, somebody they can tell secrets to. And all of these things I know are true for a fact, because I actually, as a child, fell into all three categories. So take it from me, Happy was my everything growing up until we were 12 years old, and then we got our next dog after that. So it is very important for the children to feel that they have something to come home to. Well, this is Piper and me. We have a bond like no other I've ever had. Along with being my service dog, she does many things for me. I would like for my books to go nationwide. I do feel that my message is a very important one. I have another book that's already set to go to print. However, being on disability, it takes a long time for me to get a book published, because the finances are just very difficult for me on such a limited income. I'm looking for sponsorship from different companies at this time. I've been sending out packets and letters and things like that. We try to go to events. We do some community service, but also, this is going to be what I'm going to be making a living at this point. And so it's important to me to really put my whole heart and soul into this project. I thought long and hard about it before I actually wrote the books and got the first one published. So it is, Piper's given me a way to stay in a field that I love, and in a way that maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing now, is really helping through education, both children and parents. So as I said, I have a book ready to go to print that's about what Piper and I are doing now that she's an adult. And I'm working on another book that I'm not going to give anything away on that right now, but I hope to have that book finished by the end of the year, or maybe by the fall. So in the meantime, now you know a little more about me, who I am, where I came from, how I became an author and a speaker. And as I say, I'm going to keep writing, keep looking for sponsorship so we can get these books out there and do the right thing for our kids and for our dogs. So thanks for listening, and to my mini autobiography. And I will see you on YouTube, Facebook, my website you can go to and purchase the books there. It's www.mariahleal.com. And we also have calendars that Piper has. And she's, aside from being a serious educator for children, she also has a little bit of a diva side. So check out the website, check us out on Facebook, Mariah Leal Author, and as well as YouTube. So we will see you soon, and hope to see you at one of our presentations. Thanks.